Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive? This week, we're going deep into the world of genomics. And let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack.
It's incredible, isn't it? Breakthroughs in brain science, cancer research, even insights into what makes us, personality-wise. Genomics is touching everything these days.
It really is. And that's what we're diving into today, all the latest discoveries and developments. We've got gene editing giving us new ways to study brain disorders, a common diabetes drug showing promise against cancer, and even some fascinating findings on the genetics of personality.
And that's just scratching the surface.
Right. So let's jump right in, shall we? And where better to start than with the brain, always a source of fascination, right? One of the biggest stories this week has to be the use of base editing to understand complex neurological disorders.
Absolutely. Base editing, for those who don't know, is like having a find and replace tool for DNA. Scientists can now target specific genes, even swap out single letters in the genetic code. And they're using this to study conditions like schizophrenia and autism, actually seeing how these genetic tweaks affect brain cell development in real time.
That's incredible. So it's not just, oh, this gene is somehow involved. It's like watching the mechanism unfold before your eyes.
Exactly. It's giving researchers an unprecedented level of detail. And it's not just about understanding specific conditions either. Another study caught my eye looking at the cellular changes in dementia. They found commonalities across different types, but also unique markers for subtypes like Alzheimer's.
Wow, that's huge. Talk about implications for treatment. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, this opens the door to personalized therapies, right? Targeted treatments based on the specific type of dementia.
Exactly. Earlier diagnosis, more effective interventions. This kind of research has the potential to completely change how we manage these conditions in the future.
It's incredible. The more we learn about the brain, the more complex it seems. Speaking of complexities, did you see that study about the genetic link between dyslexia and ADHD? Blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Really challenges the traditional view of these as separate, distinct conditions, doesn't it? Suggests there might be shared genetic factors at play which could have a big impact on diagnosis and treatment strategies going forward.
Right, it just goes to show how much we still don't know. But moving on from the brain for a moment, because genomics is also making waves in other areas of health. This next one really resonated with me, this study about metformin, the diabetes drug, and its potential for cancer treatment.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting one. They were focusing on esophageal cancer, and they found that metformin seemed to slow down or even stop the growth of precancerous cells. Now, what's really intriguing here is that it points to a possible link between managing diabetes and actually reducing the risk of developing certain cancers.
Makes you wonder about the potential of some of the medications we already have, right? Maybe they have applications beyond what we initially thought. And it really underscores the importance of lifestyle choices because the research also showed that things like obesity seem to fuel the growth of those precancerous cells.
Absolutely. This study is a great example of how interconnected our health truly is. Opens up all sorts of new questions about the relationship between diabetes, obesity, and cancer.
It really does. Now, another area where genomics research is shining a light is menopause. There was a fascinating study this week that used a massive analysis of what they call protein coding variants, basically, the instructions within our genes that tell our bodies how to function.
Right, and what they found was a group of genes linked to all sorts of aspects of menopause when it starts, how our ovaries age, even the risk of developing certain types of cancer.
See, I think this is so important because it moves us beyond the simplistic view of menopause as just one event, It highlights the incredibly complex interplay of genes involved in this huge biological process.
Exactly. And the more we understand these genetic factors, the closer we get to more personalized approaches to managing the health challenges that women face during this stage of their lives.
It's amazing, really. It seems like every week there's a new discovery. And speaking of discoveries, one last study I wanted to touch on, the connection between a heart condition, cancer, and insulin. Talk about unexpected links.
Right. This study found that some cancer patients had a specific gene mutation that's linked to irregular heartbeat. But here's the kicker. This same gene plays a vital role in how our bodies respond to insulin, which is essential for regulating blood sugar levels.
Wow. So this discovery could have major implications for both their cancer treatment and their overall health.
Exactly. Doctors might need to adjust cancer treatments for these patients, maybe consider different therapies to avoid any further complications with their heart. It really underscores how important it is to look at the whole patient, the entire health picture, not just the immediate issue at hand.
It's all connected, isn't it? Speaking of connections, there was also that study about the sickle cell trait and blood
Oh
clots.
yes, that was a big one. It highlights a risk factor that I think has been overlooked for far too long. They found that people who carry the sickle cell trait, not even those with the full-blown disease, might be at increased risk for blood clots. And this is true regardless of their ancestry.
Which really reinforces the need for personalized medicine. You can't just rely on ancestry alone. You have to look at each individual's risk factors. It never ends, does it? Every week brings new breakthroughs, and the technology in genomics is advancing at an incredible pace.
It really is. We saw 3 incredible developments this week alone. First up, scientists have developed a way to sequence single protein molecules in their entirety. This gives us an unprecedented look at protein structure and function, which is essential for understanding how our bodies work.
Then we have promising results for a potential vaccine for Lynch syndrome, which is a genetic condition that dramatically increases the risk of developing several types of cancer. A vaccine for cancer, that's a game changer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't enough, we also saw researchers using artificial intelligence to design more effective and safer gene therapy vectors. These vectors are like tiny delivery trucks, carrying therapeutic genes to specific cells. By using AI, they can ensure those deliveries are more accurate and minimize the risk of unwanted side effects.
Just incredible. So much progress so quickly. And finally, no deep dive into genomics would be complete without mentioning the fascinating research into the genetics of personality, right?
You're right. This week there was a groundbreaking study that looked at the genetic basis of the big 5 personality traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
Wait, so are you saying they've actually found genes for being an introvert or an extrovert?
Well, it's not quite as simple as a single gene dictating your entire personality. This study found multiple genetic variants that are associated with each of these traits. It's more about predispositions, tendencies, rather than absolute determinants.
So while our genes might not dictate every single quirk we have, they could influence our natural inclinations towards certain personality traits. That's fascinating.
It really is. This research offers a whole new perspective on the nature versus nurture debate.
It really does. Makes you wonder about the implications for fields like psychology and education, doesn't it? Imagine being able to tailor learning approaches or even therapeutic interventions based on someone's genetic predispositions. It's mind-blowing.
It is exciting, but it also raises some important ethical considerations that we need to address as this field continues to evolve.
Absolutely. We have to be mindful of those implications. Wow, what a week it's been. From unlocking the secrets of the brain to exploring the incredible impact of genomics on our health and even our personalities, it's clear that this field is bursting with potential. We're only just beginning to scratch the surface of what genomics can tell us about ourselves and the world around us. So until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.